YouTube. So, back in the 1960s, author Arthur C. Clarke and director Stanley Kubrick changed the world of science fiction forever. Not only with an amazing movie, but 4 books as well. And a lot of people don't know that there's actually a film sequel to the film 2001, and I wanted to review 2010, When We Make Contact, before I do 2001: A Space Odyssey, because really I wanted to give 2010 a fair shake, because it faces a huge challenge. Being the sequel to one of the definitive science fiction films of all time, the movie that has been credited with literally changing the scope of movies forever, not just science fiction, but movies altogether. I mean, this literally changed everything. Not only by a movie perspective too, but also on a technological perspective for how we work as a human race and the space race overall. But enough about the original. I'm going to do something special for 2001: A Space Odyssey, especially with this year being its 50th anniversary, and I'm going to review all the books too. I'll talk about the sequel, 2010. Now, it's based off the novel with the same name, so I was really conflicted because I wanted to not only think of this movie as a movie on its own, but also think of it as a sequel, which, I mean, short of Stanley Kubrick doing it himself, it would have been near impossible to make this movie at the same heights. So I'm glad they went in the direction that they did. They didn't try to go for the same... It fits in the same universe and context, but 2010 is a different kind of film overall. It doesn't tell as much of its story through showing. It doesn't tell so much of its story through little hints and little things that I hate to say it this way, but it more tells than shows. And to me, 2010 feels more like a science fiction thriller and mystery rather than a sci-fi epic like the original one was. And if it had tried to be the same epic, I think it would have failed miserably, because the director of this film is extremely talented, but I mean, you just can't recapture what Stanley Kubrick did. If they ever tried to remake 2001, it would be completely pointless. Basically, the astronauts, they're half American and half Russian, and that sort of is a product of the 80s. I mean, see Rocky IV. And one of the astronauts was responsible for sending the group to Jupiter in the first place to see what was going on with this monolith, and apparently it's still there, and they're getting really weird transmissions, and it turns out that the Russians are like, well, we're going to get there first, but we don't have the technology to properly study this, so let's meet halfway and you guys kind of come up with us. So not only does the guy who originally launched the mission go, played brilliantly by Roy Scheider. He's great in this film. He gives a magnetic performance, and he goes along with one of the scientists who helped develop HAL 9000, and one part of the mission is trying to figure out what the malfunction was. And this scientist sort of feels guilty that not only did HAL 9000 potentially kill his entire crew, but he doesn't know why. And once he finds out why, he's kind of pissed at the government for giving Hal these conflicting orders, and that's basically why he malfunctioned. And another thing that this film does extremely well is the tension of when they show up and they find the Discovery afloat. It's like that initial setup for them slowly going, for the first 2 astronauts going onto the ship, and not knowing what they're going to find in there. I mean, is Hal still going to be activated even though they know that he's deactivated? Maybe he's just sleeping. They don't know what they're going to find. Are they going to find the ghosts of their friends? Endless possibilities ran through my head, and I was literally on the edge of my seat. That's why I think this makes a suitable thriller rather than a sci-fi epic. And it stands on its own in that aspect. So they get on the ship and they reactivate everything, and they sort of give Hal a complete reboot. And what the, and the film does, and the film goes on to portray a sense of contingence between the crew, between the American crew and the Russians, as tensions start to raise higher back on Earth, and they figure out that basically their two countries are at war with each other, and that adds a whole layer to the film. It's like, okay, how do we trust each other? Does it really matter what's going on on Earth that's, you know, light years away? And by the time they get back, will they even have a home to come back to? And they further study the monolith, and the more they study it, the more things start to go wrong, and this voice and entity that I can only describe it as starts appearing to Roy Scheider and telling him, look, you guys need to leave. You guys need to just trust me and leave. And you can't tell, and you can't, and I can't tell you why, but, and it keeps reiterating, something amazing, something wonderful is about to happen. And it's just like, you get the sense of omnipotence from him. And this is where the movie could have really ruined the original for some people, because Dave shows up. Dave is this entity, and I mean, at the end of 2001, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, I mean, why are you watching this if you haven't seen it? But Dave, what happens to Dave is still left ambiguous. You get the sense that he's become a higher being, that he's been essentially reborn. He's not, he's obviously not human. I mean, he can appear in multiple places and as different forms of himself too. It's like there are times where he looks exactly like how he did in the original film, then there are other times where he even appears as the Star Child, and it's just, it's great they got the original actor to come back for that. And it's like you get major chills when he first appears to Roy Scheider, because you don't know, okay, is this guy going to seriously fuck everybody's shit up? Because, I mean, you don't know what he is. And the film doesn't spoon feed you that either. It doesn't say, you know, that they're these aliens or watchers or gods or what even the monolith is. If it's a vessel, if it's a being within itself, it doesn't answer any of that. So the film doesn't ruin that. It remains in the spirit of the original, and giving us more mysteries and more clues that kind of act as answers, but at the same time don't. And that's where the movie, I think, is at its strongest, is when it's being a thrilling piece, and that it stands alone as a science fiction thriller. Is it as good as the original? No, and it hurts me to like downgrade it, but it's hard to live up to that same level. And I think the filmmakers even realize that, but they pay so much care, and it's obvious that they cared about making a worthy successor. 2010 is a worthwhile watch. And maybe there's an audience for it that might even enjoy it more than the original, because it's more of a straightforward story and science fiction story. For those that complain that 2001 was a bit boring and didn't really get it, I'd say 2010 is, I hate to use the word more traditional, but it is the more traditional sci-fi movie without betraying its original source material. So, 2010. Have you seen it? Have you read the original book? What did you think of it, as far as not only as a movie on its own, but also how it stands to the original? But wait, there's more. Don't go anywhere. As I mentioned in the title, I'm doing a giveaway because I love everybody so much, and I had some extra stuff to give away. And instead of just taking it and selling it, I wanted to give it away to one of my viewers. So I'm going to be doing something special, like I said earlier, something special with the original 2001. So what I have here is a trilogy collection of Stanley Kubrick's work. It's got 2001, A Clockwork Orange, and The Shining, and all sorts of good extras on it. And then I have an extra of 2010 on DVD. So what do you have to do to potentially get one of these bad boys, you just got to comment below. You just got to comment below. Let me know. Tell me something. Tell me something 2001 related, or 2010 related, or it could be related to any of the books. And tell me about your first experience with the film. Get creative with it, and I will announce the winner at the beginning of next month. And basically what I'll do is I'll get in contact with you, get your information, and then I'll send these two bad boys out to you. So as always, thanks for watching. I had to give these out and to interact more with my YouTubers and with my readers. Bye.